Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Vice President Worldwide Software Sales, Vinay Nachani.
Thank you. Good morning. Look, I know a lot of you were at Hakkasan or Omnia or Cosmo last night. We really appreciate you being here. I see the coffee and the water, but I need a little more energy. Good morning. It's better. Glad we're having fun here in Vegas. So team, thank you for joining us today for what will be a very valuable and informative session for you. The goal of this session is to get you to Chairman's Club. Is that a good goal? All right, awesome. So look, it's no secret, I think we've been hearing the messaging loud and clear. The company's making a pivot to recurring revenue, to software, to buying programs. Our focus today is how do we help you be successful in that transition? What's the opportunity for you? What do you need to do differently, think differently, execute differently to be successful and drive your success in a way that's meaningful for the company? So joining me in this conversation today, we've got Irving Tan, our Senior Vice President of Operations and member of the executive leadership team to help us have that conversation, as well as Mark Hill, the Vice President of the Offers and Monetization Office, and I think it's going to be a really good discussion for you. So team, when we think about this, right, so we saw the video. In the video, what did we see? We saw a lot of athletes working on skills, getting stronger, right? That's the theme of the conference. And I think that's a very relevant theme for this discussion, right? You got to develop skills if you want to win. But how do you know what skills to develop as a salesperson? I think when you think about the skills you need to win, the first thing you have to understand is what's the game and how is it changing? And for me, a great analogy to kind of think through that is the game of basketball, right? So if you think about basketball, it's evolved the same way our business is evolving. You know, in basketball, it used to be a game where you had to dominate close to the basket to win. And so the skills and attributes you needed were size, strength, power. But how is the game played today? With the advent of the three-point line, it's become much more about precision and speed and shooting. It's a different game that requires different skills to win. And that's a good parallel for what we're going through. We're moving from a game that was dominated in our business by a hardware-centric approach. It was about speeds and feeds and winning RFPs. But we're evolving to being more about the platform. Hardware capabilities unlocked by the power of software to deliver automation, analytics, assurance that enable our customers' business goals and business outcomes around digitization and productivity and flexibility. It's a different game, requires different skills to win. It's not about a long sales cycle that results in a big PO for a lot of boxes. It's about an ongoing engagement to drive recurring lifecycle value and growth. You know, before, after the sale, customer success, adoption, expansion, all these things we talk about. And so again, the focus here is how do you succeed in that and how do we evolve our approach as sellers to win? So as we have this conversation, Irving is going to join me on stage, and we're going to talk about why software and recurring offers are good for customers. What's the customer value as we move to subscriptions and enterprise agreements? Mark's going to join us, and we're going to have a great conversation about what you can sell in FY19 to be successful. We've got a lot of new things we've been working feverishly on that we're excited to share with you. We think it presents tremendous opportunity for you to go drive success with your customers. And then we'll close out with how do you take all that and how do you sell it and how do you maximize your compensation, your performance, and your chances of getting to Chairman's Club with that. Does that sound like a good discussion? All right. So with that, please join me in welcoming Irving to the stage. Irving Tan is not just our Senior Vice President of Operations, but many of you know him as previously our leader of sales in APJ. So he has a unique understanding of how the company works, but also what our customers look for, what they need, and what the challenges we as salespeople face in the market. So let's have a warm welcome for Mr. Irving Tan. Thank you. Welcome, Irving.
Thank you for having me.
So Irving, we'd love your perspective, right? We talk a lot about recurring revenue from a lot of different angles as a company, but what does it really mean for customers as we deliver more recurring offers and more value in that model?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, I'd like to congratulate all of you on a fantastic FY18. It's really great to see all of you helping us drive the growth and success that we've had in FY18, and Q4 was really an epitome of all an accumulation of all the hard work that we're doing. So thank you for all that. You know, one of the things that we do in operations is we actually represent a customer. I have the CIO organization in which Guillermo Diaz runs for me. And so we have a good sense of what a customer would like because we represent a customer. And what do customers want if we use ourselves as an example? Customers want access to ongoing innovation. Why do they want that? Because we are living in a world of rapid disruption, particularly through digitization. So every organization is trying to figure out, and we are no different, how do we keep ahead of the competition? How are we a force of disruption? And how do we prevent ourselves from getting disrupted? Secondly, we're very focused on business outcome, and we need to be agile. Why do we need to be agile? You actually heard Chuck talk about it in his opening session, where the world we live in is extremely volatile. We've got unpredictable geopolitical environment that we're operating in right now. We're dealing with a lot of macroeconomic challenges as well. And so we need to be able to be agile. We need to be able to pivot very quickly our business model and deliver different outcomes depending on the environment that we operate in. Within that, as with every business, we run a business. So we have a P&L, we have a balance sheet, we have shareholders that are looking for financial returns. So customers are also looking for how do they derive financial predictability and flexibility to their business as well. And last but not least, they want to make things easy for them to consume, right? And that links back to how they want to be agile. They want to find technology much more easy to consume. And it's not just in software. You also see that in this whole shift to the cloud. It's all about how do they consume technology much more differently. That's really the point of view that we see ourselves as a customer from. But Vinay, you're out there talking to many customers out in the field, and so do all of you. Does that resonate from a customer standpoint with our customers as well?
Irving, I think that's really well said. It resonates very strongly. So, team, you know what's interesting is what Irving talked about is exactly what we hear from our customers, right? And so when you think about this, there's a lot of ways we can sell recurring offers. We've got a lot of products that we can go sell a la carte individually. But our strategy as a company is to deliver the maximum value and the most strategic engagements around recurring offers through the enterprise agreement. And we're going to talk more about what that value is, but what you see here are quotes from different customers talking about the value they saw when they engaged with us around the EA. And before we get into the specifics of each quote, I think what's important to take away from this is different customers are valuing different things. So we're packaging a lot of value in there. We need to help you understand all those different value levers, and then you've got to take that and based on your understanding of your customer, figure out what to position and how to position it. Right? So Irving talked about a set of things, what you see on the slide, right? Westfield valued the flexibility they got in the EA to consume different products as they came out. Right? White and Case, Irving talked about ongoing innovation. It was about access to the latest and greatest technology, right? In NVIDIA, Irving talked about how we manage the operational costs of things. NVIDIA valued the financial predictability of the EA, the fact that they knew what their spend would be, they knew what growth would look like, and they had not to exceed pricing in there. And then in Altria's case, it was about simplifying consumption, not having to go through a transactional process every time they wanted more licenses. Right? So different things resonate with different customers. We're packaging maximum value in that model of buying versus buying things a la carte. And that's where we think the opportunity for you to drive more strategic, larger deals with your customers is significant. And so to reinforce that, we're going to play a video where you're going to hear from a commercial-size customer. Right? So enterprise agreements, not just for enterprise. We're scaling them down market. And what you're going to hear is independent of the technology innovation that they really value, was why they valued consuming that in an EA, why it was good for them and their business. So let's play that video.
FirstService Residential is the largest property management, community management organization. Today, we run a 24/7 by 365 national omni-channel care center. It is the only one in the industry. This really helps us connect with our customers and our residents throughout the day. Whether there's an emergency, whether it's a basic question that they have, getting them to the right person at the right time and the right resource is really at the core of that. We were in the midst of looking at our SmartNet agreement. We were up for renewal, and we felt like that was a really good time to reevaluate our options. At that point, we looked at the Cisco Enterprise Agreement, and it really started to make a lot of sense to us. The cost savings are terrific in terms of being cost effective to our customers. Because we are a high growth organization and we bring on new acquisition partners 4 to 6 times a year, the ability to actually get a consistent service model and consistent customer experience in the field in a much more effective and timely manner than we have historically is a much more powerful factor to me. So this agreement helps us actually get the product into the hands of an acquisition partner like that.
It's a great video.
It's a great video, right? So we heard about the cost savings, we heard about the access to innovation, a lot of value there for our customers. But I think, Irving, it's worth talking about why is this good for Cisco? You're on the ELT at a business level for the company. What does this mean?
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about enterprise agreements and software selling is not only great for our customers, it's actually a win-win-win scenario. It's great for our customers, as you just heard from the video. It's great for the company. And you saw that actually translate into our results recently. I'll talk about that a bit more. And Vinay's going to cover a bit about why is it great for all of you as well. And it's sort of this really great trinity of things coming together that just fuels our growth and profitability. From a company standpoint, Vinay, one of the big things that I'm sure many of you have seen over the years, and you experience it throughout this GSX session, how we're delivering innovation to our customers is changing. In the past, it was really delivered through hardware platforms. When customers wanted new innovation, they had to rip out old infrastructure and put new infrastructure in. Today, that constant stream of innovation is going to be delivered through software. And hence, this is really strategic to the company. Getting our ability to get our software into the customer environment and continue to be able to deliver ongoing innovation is really strategic for us, but more importantly, it's aligned to what the customers want, which you heard us mention earlier. Secondly, software is very sticky. And in many cases, we are selling it either as an EA or a recurring offer, which means it makes our revenue very predictable. Instead of the old days having to go into a quarter figuring out how we're going to meet our quota from scratch, we start to realize that, hey, we've got 10% of it done, 20% of it done, 30% of it done. And when you have more and more recurring revenue and more of your revenue base every quarter taken care of, even before you start the quarter, guess what? The market really recognizes that. And that's where you see in a lot of our PE ratio starting to increase, the market rewarding us in terms of our valuation. But selling software and enterprise agreements is also a gift that keeps giving. It's not only about selling an EA. When you get a customer to commit to an EA, what that means is they've committed to Cisco. They're all in with us. They've bet their technology on us. So when you get the EA, you shouldn't just be happy. That is just step one. You've got your foot in the door. They have given you permission to go back and have that conversation with them on how we can help them with the rest of their technology, the infrastructure. When you get more infrastructure in, guess what? The next conversation you should have, how do you sell more services? If we sell more services, they love the technology, how do we help them adopt it? How do we help them renew it? So this virtuous cycle that's created, and that's really good for the company and for our shareholders.
That's powerful.
Right?
But I would think, Irving, getting a customer committed to Cisco would also be good for us as salespeople, right?
Absolutely. And I think you've got some very interesting numbers to share with the audience and how that's going to be good for them. And back to the theme of this event, how do we get them to Champions Club?
Funny you should ask. So, team, when we look at... Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but before we get there, I just wanted to show some numbers to you. This is our Q4 earnings results. If you see the first bubble on the left, Our recurring revenue grew 1 point to 32%. That means 32% of our revenue in Q4 was driven by recurring revenue, revenue that came off the balance sheet. That's really good. That means there's less pressure in the company in terms of achieving our revenue target every quarter, right? You may say, is 1 point significant? It is when you have a $50 billion business. But the software contribution at that 1 point, in a 1 point of growth was way more than 1 point. And that's where you need to look at that middle bubble, that $6.1 billion, that grew 23%. That is the amount of deferred product revenue that's coming from software subscription and EAs. That's a huge achievement, and we need to continue to grow that middle bubble a lot more. And that 56% on the rightmost bubble is basically the contribution that subscriptions have made. And you're beginning to see that impact. It's material. You saw the contribution that made to our Q4 earnings and the lift that we got out of it. So if we can keep that virtuous cycle going, it's going to really give the business a lot more oxygen to be able to make the investments both now and in the future to continue to fuel our success as we move forward. But now back to how that's great for you.
Funny you should ask. So, team, we've just put together the data, right? So we've talked about why this is good for customers, and obviously as salespeople, we want to bring more value to our customers. But in terms of how we perform, how we're measured, what we looked at are some stats around if you sold an enterprise agreement versus if you didn't. And if you sold an enterprise agreement in FY18, you were 10 times more likely to make Chairman's Club than if you didn't. Like, it's a very powerful data point, right? If you sold an enterprise agreement, on average, you performed 13 points higher versus plan than if you didn't. I don't know about you, I'd rather be at 100% than 87%. If you're already at 100% and you didn't sell one, I think you'd rather be at 113. Any way you slice it, that's good. And a lot of that's driven not just by the strategic engagement with the customer, but the fact that these are bigger deals. 2 to 3 times bigger in an annual basis. A lot of times we're taking a customer from a 1-year spend to a 3-year spend, and so you're talking about an order of magnitude difference in just the initial deal size, not to mention what Irving talked about. What we see when customers sign these deals and make that commitment is the hardware pull-through, and the services follow on to that are quite significant as well. So this is a software lens, but it's actually much more significant than that.
And that's a very important point because it is a mindset shift. In the past, we used to focus on selling the hardware. This is a fundamental paradigm shift about value selling by positioning the software first and pulling everything through.
And we see that play out. So, that being said, what we want you to be clear on and what we want to make sure everybody understands is, if you haven't sold an enterprise agreement and you may have tried a couple of years ago and at that point it wasn't as scalable as it is today, we're selling these everywhere. So we did 1,400 enterprise agreements in FY18. Congratulations and thank all of you. Give yourselves a round of applause. That was up from 600 the year before. Those EAs are driving RO success in every geo. In the Americas, in EMEA, in APJ, you saw roughly, call it 100% EA bookings growth. And you saw the deal count actually exceed that, which is a good stat, right? Normally you think, well, we're doing smaller deals, that's not good. It's very good because it means we're scaling these down market and we're taking them at lower thresholds. This is a geographic view. In terms of a segment view, not only did we have great success in EAs in the commercial space, but we did over $100 million in EAs in territory, the low end of commercial this year. So if you're thinking this isn't for you, I strongly urge you to take a second look because we've made a lot of progress. You saw Jerry's note on Monday late afternoon on all the things that we're driving forward, and Mark's going to talk more about that. But again, this is something that is now for everybody, and we encourage you to get in the boat with us. Thank you again for the success. That being said, we know that those of you who sold it, let's be honest, it wasn't easy, right? These are not easy to sell. They're complex deal processes. There's a lot of challenges, right? We talk about the EA as a way to sell effectively across architectures, but the reality is if you really get into the details, there are some real differences between how we do collab and security and networking in an EA that make it tough for you. And we don't have great data on what our installed base looks like. Makes it hard to identify opportunities. makes it difficult to go through the pricing process, makes it hard to figure out where the renewals are, and it's very inconsistent. So we're very aware of these challenges. We've had great success in spite of them. We've made progress. But Irving, as the leader of operations, I'd love to get your perspective on these challenges and how we're going forward to really address them for the field.
Well, I think this is very fair feedback, and we recognize the challenges that you face. And in fact, the Customer and Partner Services organization within operations is joined at the hip with all of you in helping you process all these EAs. So we live that complexity along with the team. One of the things we're doing as we move forward into FY19 is really we've developed a Cisco software strategy framework to really help address a lot of these questions. And it's really being built around 4 key principles. The first and foremost, it has to be customer-centric. And that's sort of a no-brainer. We need to be able to design EAs that customers actually want, and they derive value from it. Secondly, they need to be flexible. One of the challenges I know that many of you face, for example, with some of the collaboration EAs, is they have existing software licenses for collab. They want to trade them in. They want to move to flex. Those have been really complex to deal with, and I know they take a lot of cycles. We're working to address them.
Great.
Thirdly, they need to be consistent. How often do you have a customer that may have started off with enterprise networking, wants to move to collab, wants to move to security, and every EA looks totally different, and the amount of paperwork that you have to deal with is about that thick, right? So we're working with our legal counterparts as well to see how we can streamline that to make them very consistent. Lastly, they have to be scalable, and you made a very interesting point. It doesn't matter which part of our customer segments you're on. You can start with an EA somewhere. And we need to create EAs for you that are scalable, where you have customers as they grow, the EAs can grow along with them. And with these 4 principles, we've really translated that into 3 imperatives in terms of our strategy. First, how do we help you get started with EAs in terms of high-value domain offers? Second, if you start with one domain offer, how do we extend that towards the entire portfolio? So how do we move across the domains in a very consistent manner? And that's really driven by one of the core principles around consistency. And lastly, how do we help you maximize the life cycle value of the customer? This is really about the motion I talked about, getting EAs in, then going back and having the hardware conversation, pulling through more services, driving that renewal, driving an expansion. So it's going to be much more easy for you to meet your targets and get to Chairman's Club as a result of that. And Mark's going to go through a lot more of the details on the specific offers that we have across each of these 3 strategic imperatives.
Now, hey, Irving, that's a great discussion, and it's really, I think, compelling, the partnership we have between the field and operations, but transparently across the company, right? Finance, BEs, everybody's all in on using this framework to drive more simplicity for the field, more value for customers. I really appreciate the partnership. Thank you for joining us today. Great discussion. How about a round of applause for Irving?
Thank you. And keep the feedback coming.
So team, next up, I'm going to bring up our next speaker to really talk through the specifics on the strategy and get real on what we're doing and what you can sell. So I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Mark Hill, our Vice President of the Offers and Monetization Office. And from a field perspective, I'll tell you, we can't have a stronger partner than what we have in Mark. His team is working tirelessly behind the scenes with BEs and with a number of other groups to bring offers you can sell. And I know we're excited to share some of that with the field today. So Mark, all yours.
Thank you, Renee. Thank you, Irving. And thank you, everyone, for the magnificent performance last year, signing 1,400 EAs. When I joined Cisco about 18 months ago after 23 years at Microsoft, and I got to Cisco and I saw the many different ways we had different licensing programs, many different ELAs, and quite frankly, it was quite a mess. We're a little bit better now, but it was a much more of a mess 2 years ago. And we've started working to consolidate things, and I was amazed that, we thought we might make 1,000 EAs this year. It's coming in with 1,400 EAs. I just want to say thank you very much. So a round of applause again for all of you. Thank you. And I also want to specifically thank all those account teams for bringing me into your accounts, talking to customers. I really value the input and the experience and understanding what you need and what they need. And specifically to the partner account managers. We spent a lot of time with partners this year figuring out how do we do partner-led EA selling, partner-driven EA selling, even through distribution. We're not quite out the woods yet, but we're doing a lot of work there, so thank you very much. So let's talk a little bit about these three pieces of our strategy and show you all the things that we're bringing to market to help you in selling and help you get your Chairman's Club. So when we think about high-value offers per domain, you know, one of the things that loom right large straight away is Cisco One. You know, Cisco One was created about 3 years ago as the company was moving into a serious software-centric business. It was a way to try and address our infrastructure business, bring all the software together to address switching, wireless, routing, the enterprise networking side, but also data center networking with all the Nexus and the ACI software, and then, you know, our enterprise cloud suite with compute. And so it was a way to try and bring all the software together and show some context for customers and try and help customers buy larger suites. And it's been a thing of beauty. It's a magnificent thing. We have 25,000 customers. We've earned over $2.5 billion of revenue through Cisco One over the last few years. More importantly, there's over $500 million of open Swiss contracts that's live and kicking that just generates revenue all the time. So as long as we keep those customers happy and they keep renewing, we've got that $500 million keep coming in all the time. Even if we don't sell another single unit, we just keep the current ones going, it's $500 million. So this is a great, great thing. However, our company is moving into a new era. We have taken software really seriously, and every domain, every business group, every product group has really taken this to heart. And we've built domain-specific offers, brands that represent the innovation and the work we're putting in behind key areas of our business. DNA, for example, represents what we're doing in enterprise networking. It's not about switching or wireless or routing. It's about enterprise networking. And that brand is DNA, and our software is called DNA. So too for ACI, for data center networking, and ECS for compute. And it's time for us to now say, well, how do we help all of our Cisco One customers migrate to these new brands, because that's what they're looking for. And we've built a great program to help you do that. A program that is customer-centric. We love looking after our customers. It's a hallmark of Cisco, and we'll make sure that we do it for them in a very, very easy way. We want to honor the promise of Cisco One, which is giving them ongoing innovation, helping them stay abreast of the latest technologies at Cisco, and helping them migrate. And we want to keep that customer momentum, and more specifically, that $500 million of ongoing revenue. We don't want to drop that as we migrate from our legacy business, which is Cisco One, into these new domain-specific brands. So what we want to do is align what customers want to buy with what you have to sell. So let me ask you a question. How many of you have Cisco One customers today? Yeah, made a lot of money out of selling Cisco One. I'm going to show you how you can get them onto these new brands in a very, very easy way. Step number one. Let's have a look at what we're doing with enterprise networking. So we're updating Cisco One. You'll see in the past we had Cisco One in the suite, we had Cisco One Foundation with Cisco One Advantage on the left, and customers bought Swiss. Gave them support, service, ongoing innovation, upgrades. At the same time, since we launched about a year ago, all of the new DNA suites, we had DNA Essentials, a subscription version of our newest software in that arena, and DNA Advantage. And then we had a Cisco One sort of wrapper around all of that by adding a few security products in, and we had a subscription suite and the perpetual suite with Swiss attached. What we're doing now is moving forward and putting all of our efforts into these domain-specific brands. And we're going to do that in two ways. Number one, either new customers or renewing customers with Cisco One. Instead of buying Swiss, they simply, if it's a renewing customer, they renew Swiss, and immediately that gets swapped out for a new a new SKU, a DNA SKU, a DNA product SKU that includes all the benefits of Swiss. So all the support and everything they need for their perpetual software in the past comes with that DNA SKU, and the customers get DNA as well. All at the price of Swiss. No changes in price, no changes in support. Everything is still currently supported, but they also get DNA. For new customers who are buying Cisco One, and we still have customers buying Cisco One because there's still our old legacy hardware out there in both switching, wireless, and routing, where customers have a network and they need to add maybe a router or two, or they want to add a 3850 switch because that's their implementation. So we do sell new Cisco One. We sell a lot of new Cisco One. And for those customers, when they buy Cisco One, they simply get automatically attached this DNA SKU that includes all the support. So we're updating for existing customers. We're updating Cisco One so that everyone gets access to DNA in the most appropriate way at the price of Swiss. We're also changing the top level of the subscription SKU set. And we'll have Cisco One DNA Essentials, DNA Advantage, and then DNA Premier. And so what we're firmly doing is taking a step into our new era, and we're saying these domain-specific brands will center on those moving forward for all of our new hardware and all of our new architectures. And we'll keep Cisco One for all the legacy hardware and legacy architectures. And it'll keep going. Customers get all the new stuff as well as if they're on Cisco One. And as that hardware gets withdrawn from the market, so too will Cisco One be withdrawn from the market in that area. When we stop selling 3850s, we'll stop Cisco One for 3850s. And then we'll do that for wireless and for routing. So what we're doing is giving customers a fantastic path to take their existing network and migrate it to our new technologies over time at the price they're paying today. A great, great migration strategy for customers. Also, if a customer is renewing Swiss or buying more than $300,000 of list price of Swiss or this new DNA SKU, we'll give them a free DNA controller appliance. And that's a fantastic way to help them move into the new world. So, we're doing that for DNA, but we're also doing it for our data center networking business, for ACI. In much the same way, current customers with Cisco One, when they renew their Swiss, they'll automatically be renewed into an ACI SKU that includes all of the benefits of Swiss at the same price of Swiss, but they also get the ACI software, the subscription software. And we're changing the name of the subscription SKUs that used to be called Cisco One Essentials and Cisco One Advantage for data center networking, and we're renaming them to our new domain-specific brand called ACI. So it'll be ACI Essentials and ACI Advantage. And so you've just seen with DNA and ACI, the future is DNA and ACI, and we're getting all of our Cisco One customers a great path to migrate into that. Okay? We love our customers. We're known for customer service, and we'll continue to do that. And this is a way to help you move your customers into that new world and continue to beat our competitors. So, that's existing Cisco customers, Cisco One customers. What do we do about looking at all the different things we're selling, from data center networking to DNA to enterprise networking to collab security? How do we bring this all together into into a much more cohesive buying programs that are more consistent across our entire domains and the new stuff that I just mentioned? So when we think about consolidating all of this, let's take a step back and say, what is our value proposition to customers? What's the Cisco product strategy? And you will have seen this slide many times. Chuck and the ELT often present this slide when we talk about our strategy at Cisco. Our strategy is to build and deliver to customers this secure, intelligent platform for digital business. And the platform word is very important. So what is a platform? Well, this platform includes software software and hardware and services that embraces a multi-cloud world. All our multi-cloud stuff is part of this platform. Reinventing the network is part of this platform. unlocking the power of data through analytics, both at the network level, the infrastructure level, and the application level, is a key part of this platform. Security is foundational and crosses every single one of these domains. And then we have to deliver great customer and employee experiences through all of the technologies we have in our collaboration business. And the nice thing about this is software helps this platform integrate and become more and more cohesive over time. By doing that, the value of this platform is greater than just the sum of the parts. It allows us to deliver ongoing innovation at a much more rapid pace, and none of our competitors or anyone else in the industry has this expanse of portfolio. So that's a real competitive advantage, because once customers start on this platform, it's much easier to use this platform for all the other domains as well, where our competitors don't have that luxury. So, selling a platform is a very powerful thing. Let's talk about how that works. Well, if you take this platform, and today really we bring it all together, and our mission and our vision is to make all of those aspects of that platform be available through the Cisco EA. And I'm going to take you through a few slides to show you how we're doing that in a minute. But we have the software platform represented by the Cisco EA. But customers don't use a Cisco EA. They need the stuff that a Cisco EA does, that the software platform does. They need this platform. They need what it can enable them. And those are the customer use cases. The platform enables automation, enables assurance, enables security, encrypted traffic analysis, meetings, calling. And those are the use cases that the platform enables, and that's what the customer is interested in. At the same time, if the customer wants to get all those use cases, there's hardware and services that they need to run those. And so that's the platform. And there's a real power here that is a fundamental shift in the way we are going to sell in the future, and that's platform selling. And it goes like this. You start off selling one of the use cases. Customer has a pain point, go and present our way of doing assurance or our way of doing automation. For example, in DNA, customer wants to make sure that across their switches, their wireless environment and their routing, that they can get assurance that everything's running the way they need it to run, and that it meets all the policies. That's a great use case. Show them that use case with DNA. When the customer says, I want to buy that use case, great. Buy our DNA platform. It's not about buying a switch or a router or a wireless access point. Buy the DNA platform. Get the customer to commit to that. Once they commit to the platform, you say, well, great. So where do you want to run this? Let's ship you a whole lot of hardware that then enables that platform. And the nice thing about that is, by the time you get a customer to commit to your platform, the hardware sale is uncontested. Because we're now talking about running the DNA platform. We're not talking about buying a switch or a wireless access point anymore. And there's only one company that can sell you the hardware to run DNA. Guess who that is? Cisco. And this is a real powerful thing, because it's a never-ending way of going to a customer and farming them. You can either create a new use case. Hey, have you thought about this new use case called encrypted traffic analysis? Or have you thought about this use case called calling? Or you can go to the customer and say, well, you got this great platform. You know that the platform can be expanded to address other areas of your business as well. Do security, do collaboration. At the same time, you can go to the customer and say, you bought this platform. If you just bought a bit more hardware, you could go to extend that output of that platform. And so there's always a way to go back to your customer and do a deal. So let's talk a little bit about the Cisco Enterprise Agreement, which is the heart of that entire software platform. And you'll see we've expanded it with these domain-specific brands instead of Cisco One. And so in the next few months, we'll make a switch, and this will be available. You'll see we've got our DNA business, our enterprise networking business, natively into the EA. ACI business, data center network natively, enterprise compute natively. We're also adding Meraki. And this complete platform, suddenly you say, well, wow, I can go to my customers and do all of this. And the best thing about this new platform is that all of the work we're doing in CX, all of the work we're doing around customer lifecycle enablement is enabled by this. And so this is where the CX work, the customer experience work, software selling work, and the way you manage your customer all comes together in this. This is a platform for customer lifecycle management. So I ask you, how many of you want to go to Chairman's Club next year? You see, all right? Take a photograph for this, because that's your ticket to get there. All right? Let me show you a few things now about how we're putting this all together. Number one, start off with the big dog, DNA. Today, customers have a mix of hardware, wireless, switching, routing, different hardware versions. On that hardware, we've got different bits of software, varying levels of install base. If you try and get DNA on all of those devices so a customer can take the existing environment into the DNA world, it's a nightmare. It's impossible to figure out which piece of hardware has got what version of software. What do they have to buy? Inconsistent software capabilities. And then to get all the software in all those boxes so that DNA can run on them, my gosh, that's an expensive effort. If you've ever done it, it's prohibitively expensive to go and buy IP services, for example, on switches for every box. And even if you can do it, it's a renewal nightmare because each one of those boxes have a different DNA subscription that expire at a different time of the year, whether you've got 3 or 5 year agreements, and you'll never be able to renew this properly. It's virtually impossible to do. So on the EA, we've taken a bold step. And with your feedback, we've decided, great, let's jump straight into the new world. Moving forward, on the EA, if a customer wants to move to DNA, they simply buy, with the same network with different levels of hardware and software. The customer commits to buy DNA and put it across their entire network. Instantly, they get DNA advantage on every single device they have. And if they need some prerequisite software to make that DNA work, that all comes at no charge. So you're taking your customer and you're saying, you want to migrate? Just start paying us the subscription for the future, and everything else you need, you can get. And when you need to swap those old boxes out for a new, maybe catalyst switch, just keep paying the subscription. Just swap out the hardware. So you're putting them in the future today at the cost of the future, simple subscription price for every box. No counting. And the nice thing about this is it's very easy to do. And if a customer signs a DNA EA or signs up for DNA on the Cisco EA, we'll give them a free DNA appliance to help them get going. Isn't that a deal to help your customers move to DNA? What do you think? There we go. So, we're also updating our security business. In the past, we've had security ELA 1.0, which is a very flexible approach to looking at all the security software you need. The problem is it gets very complex to price and update, and it's all a manual process. We tried this foray in to create a security on 2.0, and, that was automated. The problem is it's not as flexible as the first one. And so you told us you like that automation, but you like this flexibility. So we've got a new way of doing security on the EA coming down the pipe. And that's a simple way. We've got our 8 core technologies. Customer simply chooses a minimum of 3 that they want or more. If they buy more, they get more of a discount. Customer commits to putting that enterprise-wide and paying for it enterprise-wide. And you can add more as you want. They can add some optional security technologies as much as they need. And this simply fits into the regular EA, just like everything else, through the same process, simple quoting tools, same EA workspace, all the automation that you need. It's no longer a manual process. So all the self-service tools, and you can simply sign, add on. Very, very simple to calculate for customers and to get them moving onto security. Because this is a business we have to juice. We have a competitive advantage here because of the breadth of security portfolios. And getting it added into the regular EA along with all of our other technologies is a great way to do multi-portfolio selling to a customer. We're also adding Meraki, as I said. All the Meraki components, end-to-end, the full Meraki portfolio. On the EA, same common EA agreement, same true forward process, same code termination process, simple to manage, and you'll get compensated on the whole deal up front when you sell a Meraki deal on the EA. It's a great, great way to retire more of your quota and get that inch closer to a lower land. And so I ask you, this is all these new things really help you get something great to sell. All right, well, are we done? No, because I know how hard it is to sell an EA. Earlier on, Vinay put up the slide to say, there's all these problems, Mark. And a while ago, about 6 months ago, Vinay kept sending me these emails. I heard this from the field. I heard that from the field. This doesn't work. Partners can't do this. And we decided that we were getting inundated with issues around our EA platform. And so we started this database and this tool, actually. And every single bit of feedback that you give us or a partner gives us goes into that tool. Vinay and I look at this every month in our teams, and we start logging them and tracking them. I'm very pleased to say we've updated a lot of these things. And Vinay, all your kicking and screaming and shouting at me, please come up here because I want to show you everything we're doing. And I think we've got some great things to tell the field.
Making a lot of progress, Mark. I mean, what you described on the offers is fantastic. Aligning to what customers want to buy and making it easier for the field to sell, it's really appreciated.
Thank you. Well, this is what we're doing. Number one, we're aligning all of our offers. You saw that, both in terms of getting Cisco One sorted out. Cisco One will remain for our legacy brands. We'll migrate all those customers to our new innovation and subscription brands moving forward. We'll put all of those new brands onto the EA as native components in an EA. We're getting all that aligned. Same process, same automation. From strategic opportunity identification, there's two ways we're doing that. One, in the EA management tool, we'll be showing you what your customers have and where the next opportunities are. But we've also built into that this new customer maturity model. And we've worked with all the product groups to say, what's the steps customers should take to go from starting with your product set to the most mature way to implement your product set? What software and hardware do you need along the way? And when we put that all together and we take customer install base plus this key information from our product groups and we merge that, you get a view from your customers where they are today, what they have purchased, what they can do with what they purchased if they implement it properly, and what are those steps, and what business benefit can they get if they took the next step. It's a great way to prospect and to create opportunities. We're also addressing the deal cycle. It's just difficult to do deals all the time. It takes long. And I'm pleased to say, apart from getting everything on the same platform, so we now can automate one platform, we've also got some other exciting announcements to make.
That's right. That's right, Mark. And I think, team, you know how committed we all are to simplification. The process is complicated, right? BE finance, commercial finance, CPS, et cetera. I think there's no greater indication of our partnership to make it easy for you than what we're announcing, which is this software simple help desk, right? So we're moving a team that's resided in Mark's team, incubating this behind the scenes. We're moving them over to the worldwide team, standing them up for day one of Q2 to make it easy for you to get EA pricing in 48 hours or less, abstracting all the back-end complexity that we can. And this is something that Jerry and Edwin are committed to invest in to build out so that we can do it at scale across the globe. It's fantastic. Thank you, Mark.
Well, thank you, Vinay, and very pleased about this announcement. And just to finish off, we're getting consistent EA experience with all the same EA management portal, and the entitlement and renewals. It's difficult to understand in the past which customers have entitlement to what through the EA and all the stuff they bought outside of the EA. With all the new tools in the EA management portal, it all comes together. And we've been working with the rest of operations and the product groups to get smart licensing code, the same common smart licensing code, put in every single one of our products. So in less than a year, every single product at Cisco will have the same way of identifying itself when it gets turned on at a customer, and all that information goes into the smart account. And that smart account is linked to the EA management portal. So you'll have a crisp view of everything the customer has. And that will give you the visibility of everything that's going on in your customer. You can figure out what they're using, what they're paying for, and if there's ever a gap, it's the easiest sale you ever made. It's just, hey, you're using this, you haven't paid for it, please do so. So, Vinay, everyone else, thank you very much for the feedback we've given you this year. You've given me during the year, and we've built this new environment for you. And I wish you all the best, and I hope to see you in Hawaii next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I really appreciate it. So, team, phenomenal progress. We're making progress together. I really appreciate the partnership, Mark, we've had with your team as we work together to drive this forward and increase customer value and field simplicity. So, I think, team, that's where it's important to understand we're on a journey, right? It doesn't always feel like it from one day to the next, but if you look at where we've come from last year to this year into the future, the opportunity is tremendous, right? We think we can do, I think Mark questions if the numbers here are too low, 2,000 to 2,500 EAs this year, going towards 10,000 in the next couple of years, right? We're trying to make these offers easier to sell. We're giving you more offers to sell, and we're investing in your compensation to make it worth your while, right? We talked about the likelihood of getting the Chairman's Club, but we've come from a place where a few of you were on a pilot around RO compensation to incent you to focus here. It's now most of you, and we're going to a place where it's all of you, and we've talked about the deal processing time getting easier. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. Feel free to take a picture. We get questions all the time on what is and isn't a recurring offer. There's a lot of stuff on the left. You can go sell a la carte, one at a time, to fill up quota in that bucket. But the strategic way to do this, on the right, is the enterprise agreement to package those offers together to drive full enterprise-wide commitment and engage in life cycle around adoption to maximize that hardware and services pull-through Irving talked about. And so what does that RO bucket mean, and how do you get paid? This slide is an example. There's a lot of comp plans at Cisco, but we want to walk through how this works. So if you look at a sample with somebody that has a 65% product bucket, a 20% services, 10% RO, everything that hits the RO bucket also hits your primary product or services bucket. It's double bubble. And also the accelerators on that bucket when you're above plan are actually greater than your normal accelerators. So the opportunity is tremendous. And so if we look at if you sell 200K of non-recurring versus recurring, I'm just going to build this out. What you see is that when you sell recurring, if you're below plan, you're making about 2x than if you were to sell non-recurring. And if you're above plan and you're in the sweetened accelerator pot, you make 3x selling RO than if you don't. So clearly, we're putting our money where our mouth is. This is good for the company. It's good for customers. We want it to be good for you. And if you do it right, you'll actually pull, again, a lot of hardware and services as well and be quite successful. And it's not just about the value we get when we sign the deal. So again, when we sell RO in an enterprise agreement, yes, there's greater upfront value at purchase, but the expand, the adopt, the renewal, when we look at the data and we look at the metrics on the few thousand EAs we've done to date, those are all significantly better when you go EA versus when you go transactionally. It's the gift that keeps on giving. You land that EA, you can cross-sell, you can upsell. We've got Maria's team investing in customer success to drive meaningful adoption for you. And there's a lot of opportunity here. And again, it's value up front on your commission check, but it's long-term value to both you and your customers. And so again, we talked about how do you get to Chairman's Club, right? I think these are the data points that are the most meaningful. You're 10 times more likely to get there if you sell an EA versus if you don't. You're going to finish 13 points higher versus plan if you sell an EA versus if you don't. And again, we've talked about the purchase and the deal size being bigger. So we think this is the path to Chairman's Club. We think it's really good for you. We're going to ask you to do 3 things as you go out of here and get back to your office on Monday. You've got a lot you've taken in this week. We want to set you up for success. It starts with understanding the recurring offers and understanding these new EA constructs. We've got software specialists around the world to help you understand them, and we're partnering closely with the architecture teams. Chances are you've already heard the EA message multiple times this week at the EN sessions, at the security sessions, and elsewhere. Once you understand them, let's work together. Let's work with the specialist teams to identify the opportunities in account planning. And at BR35, which is coming up shortly later today, a lot of good discussion about how you engage in that account planning and leverage heat maps and different approaches to really maximize the value for your customer when you look at not just their Cisco spend and renewals, but what their competitive footprint looks like and how you leverage that. It's a powerful session, a lot of good detail there. And then it really comes down to meeting with your customers, understanding the value for them, understanding their pain points, and positioning the right value to drive the right impact for them. If you do all those things, I'm really optimistic and excited about the success you're going to have. We're looking forward to you getting the Chairman's Club and having a nice Mai Tai with Irving in Hawaii next year. So with that, thank you and aloha and best of luck.